The day an HOA queen took on the U.S. military. The wail of sirens shattered the quiet of our suburban cul-de-sac, lights bouncing off pristine lawns and decorative mailboxes. Military trucks rumbled to a stop in front of my house, hemmed in by a swarm of police cruisers. Across the street, Helen, the HOA's self-crowned enforcer, stood triumphant, arms folded, her phone still hot from calling 911. She thought she'd busted a rogue operation. What she didn't know was that she'd just dragged half the county to interrogate a U.S. Armed Forces convoy on a federal mission. And the kicker? She thought she was saving the neighborhood. I leaned against my porch railing, coffee in hand, watching the drama unfold like a primetime special. Helen had no idea who she was messing with or what I'd been doing for the past 20 years. But she was about to learn. It was a crisp Tuesday morning in Willow Creek, a sleepy subdivision where the biggest scandals usually involved untrimmed hedges. I'm Jack Thompson, a retired Army logistics officer turned private contractor. My company, certified by the Department of Defense, handles sensitive deliveries, think mobile command units and emergency supplies for disaster response. Willow Creek isn't exactly a hub for this kind of work, but after my service, I wanted a quiet spot near my son's school. Quiet. That is, until Helen came along. As HOA treasurer, she ruled with a clipboard and a vendetta, measuring grass blades and spying on violations through her kitchen blinds. She'd had it out for me ever since I refused to join her precious HOA. That morning, I just finished my gym session and was prepping for a high-priority delivery when the convoy rolled in. 3 military trucks, 2 Humvees, and a black SUV. It was routine from a part of a FEMA operation to stage communications gear and relief supplies. To Helen, though, it was an invasion. I heard her before I saw her, her shrill voice cutting through the hum of radios. She stormed across the street, filming the uniformed drivers like she was directing a true crime documentary. "This is an illegal occupation," she shouted, shoving her phone in a sergeant's face. He calmly asked her to step back. She didn't. Instead, she dialed 911, and within minutes, the circus arrived. 5 cop cars, a K-9 unit, a supervisor's SUV, and because why not, a local news van. Helen was in her element, waving down the police like she'd uncovered a terrorist plot. "I stopped a militia," she told a deputy, pointing at my driveway. "They're hiding military equipment here. It's against the law." The deputy barely hid his smirk. I strolled over, introduced myself, and handed over my DoD contractor badge. The officer's eyebrows shot up, then narrowed at Helen. "Ma'am," he said, "you filed a false report on a federal convoy. That's obstruction." Helen's face froze, her mouth flapping like a fish out of water. I held up my clipboard. "This is Operation Swift Relief, FEMA-approved comms and rations. Those militia are National Guard on active duty." The deputy turned to Helen. "You delayed a critical mission. There could be consequences." She turned beet red, stammering about guns and trucks, but the words fizzled under the weight of her mistake. The news crew smelled blood. A reporter, hair stiff with gel, asked if I'd go on record. I passed, but Helen couldn't resist. She leapt in front of the camera, declaring, "This neighborhood is for families, not military bases." The reporter, barely containing his amusement, pointed out the convoy was for civilian emergency prep. Helen doubled down. It wasn't approved by the HOA. The crowd neighbors now gathering chuckled. If it didn't have Helen's stamp, it didn't exist, never mind the Pentagon. The police cleared out after verifying my papers, but 2 military liaisons stayed behind. They asked if I wanted to escalate Helen's interference. I didn't tie it. Instead, I said, "She's just the HOA treasurer. She doesn't speak for me." Helen overheard, her face twitching with rage as the convoy resumed unloading crates. Neighbors whispered, some snapping photos with the Humvees. For once, Helen wasn't the hero. I thought she'd back off. I was wrong. By dusk, she'd hatched a new plan. The next morning, a letter slid under my door, HOA letterhead and all. Helen, in her infinite wisdom, cited me for unauthorized military activity and demanded I attend an emergency HOA meeting. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. A federal operation, and she thought her bylaws trumped it? The meeting was a spectacle. The clubhouse was packed, not with anger but curiosity. Helen sat at the head table, glasses perched like a judge. "Tonight," she intoned, "we address the unauthorized convoy that traumatized Willow Creek." She passed around grainy photos of the trucks, claiming they'd caused neighborhood distress. A board member, Tim, dared to ask, "Wasn't that a FEMA delivery?" Helen snapped. The board wasn't consulted. I stood. "Helen, you called the cops on a legal federal operation. Now you want to find me." The room snickered. She clutched her binder, citing a rule about heavy vehicles needing 72-hour approval. Tim muttered, "That's for moving trucks, not FEMA." Laughter erupted. Helen pounded her pen. "If Jack won't comply, we'll issue a violation notice." I slid a folder of DOD authorizations across the table. "You tried to stop a classified operation. Stay out of things you don't understand." The meeting dissolved in murmurs, Helen's authority crumbling. She didn't quit. 2 days later, another letter arrived, this time from a neighborhood oversight council, a fake agency she'd invented. It accused me of weaponized logistics abuse. My wife, Clara, rolled her eyes. "Is she serious?" I nodded. Time to stop playing nice. I called a contact at Military Logistics and another at Homeland Security, not to retaliate but to document Helen's interference. Meanwhile, she took her crusade online, posting in the neighborhood's Facebook group about military intimidation. She uploaded doctored videos, but neighbors called her out. Her biggest mistake? Sharing spliced footage from an old news segment, claiming it was evidence. The backlash was swift. She knocked on doors, begging for support to oust me. No one bit. She tried to sue me through the HOA for infrastructure impact. That flopped, too. Every move backfired, but Helen kept swinging. Then the feds stepped in. A knock on my door revealed Lieutenant Colonel Margaret Stone, U.S. Army, flanked by 2 suits with briefcases. Helen, speed walking over, tried to insert herself. Colonel Stone shut her down. "This is a federal matter. Step back." Inside, Stone explained that Helen's 911 call had disrupted a logistical stress test tied to a FEMA communications hub. It wasn't just a delay, it compromised a national protocol. They were building a case, possibly for the Department of Justice. I handed over Helen's letters, including her fake agency nonsense. The suits snapped photos, whispering. Outside, Helen was yelling about her legal standing. Stone approached her, clipboard in hand. "Ma'am, you're trespassing. This is a federal review. File a request through proper channels." Helen's face crumpled. "I'm calling my lawyer," she spat. Stone sighed. "Install cameras, Jack. This could escalate." Helen didn't stop. She posted online, claiming my house was a military target. Neighbors got DHS letters about a community readiness assessment, and everyone knew who triggered it. Helen spun it, bragging she'd forced DHS's hand. Then the convoy returned not for delivery, but a readiness drill. Trucks set up mock response bases, drones buzzed, and traffic was rerouted. Helen lost it, screaming, "I didn't authorize this." Colonel Stone stepped out, handing her a Stafford Act warrant. "This is binding. Keep your distance, or you'll be detained." Helen backed off, pale. The news caught wind, airing a segment. Local HOA leader obstructs federal mission. The internet roasted her. Neighbors posted her fake letters and rants. Veterans called her dangerous, and the HOA faced an audit for mismanagement. Helen's reign collapsed. She tried one last stand at town hall. 3 people showed up, one for the bathroom. A for sale sign appeared on her lawn soon after. She moved out at dawn, no goodbyes. The neighborhood threw a block party, grilling with convoy drivers and their families. A kid wore a shirt. "My dad drives the truck Helen called cops on." I toasted to truth and community. A neighbor, Greg, hammered a plaque into my lawn. Willow Creek Federal Drop Point. It was crooked but perfect. A news crew returned, and I spoke about trust and leadership. The clip went viral under Helen Convoy. Helen's final complaint to the station went nowhere. She was gone, her clipboard tyranny irrelevant. Willow Creek is different now. The new HOA, led by a retired librarian, plans picnics, not patrols. Neighbors wave without fear. That plaque? It's a reminder, truth rolls in like a convoy, and no HOA badge can stop it. What do you think about power and justice in stories like this? Have you faced a Helen in your life? Share your thoughts below. Let's talk about standing up to bullies and what fairness means to you.